This story is shared for awareness and educational purposes. Names and identifying details have been changed. From the outside, the marriage appeared unremarkable. Two people sharing a home, sharing routines, sharing plans that sounded ordinary and safe. There were no police visits, no shouting heard from the street, no obvious signs that something was wrong. Neighbors waved when they passed. Friends visited occasionally. Family believed the couple was doing well. Nothing about the home suggested danger. But danger does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it grows quietly. They met in a way that felt easy, introduced through familiar faces, short conversations that slowly turned into long ones, comfortable silences that felt natural. He was attentive, calm, someone who seemed thoughtful and measured. She felt noticed around him, listened to, secure. When he spoke about commitment, he sounded certain. When he spoke about the future, his words felt steady. He talked about building a life together, about partnership, about stability. When he proposed, it felt like confirmation rather than surprise. This was the path her life was meant to take. The wedding was simple but joyful. Family gathered, friends celebrated. There were photographs, laughter, promises spoken with confidence. No one imagined those vows would later echo in a courtroom. The early months of marriage felt calm. They established routines, shared responsibilities, learned each other's habits. There were disagreements, but nothing unusual. At least, nothing that seemed dangerous. The changes began slowly, so slowly they were easy to ignore. He asked questions. Where had she been? Who had she spoken to? Why she hadn't answered her phone? He framed them gently, as concern, as care. She told herself it was normal. Over time, the questions became more frequent. The tone shifted. Why didn't you answer? Why do you need to see them so often? Why can't you just come straight home? He spoke as if he was responsible for her safety, as if her independence was a risk. She began explaining herself more. Then the questions became opinions. That outfit didn't look right. Those friends didn't respect their relationship. She didn't need to go out so much anymore. Each comment felt small on its own. Together, they formed a pattern. She adjusted without realizing it, changed what she wore, canceled plans, checked in more often. She told herself this was compromise, that relationships required effort. So she stayed. Stress entered the home quietly. Money concerns, work frustrations, unspoken resentments. Small disagreements grew longer. Raised voices became more common. After each outburst came silence, then apologies. He promised to change, promised to do better, promised it would not happen again. Sometimes he cried, sometimes he brought gifts. Each apology felt sincere, and each time she wanted to believe him. There was a weapon in the house. He said it was for protection, for emergencies. She did not like it, but she didn't feel strong enough to object. Fear had already begun shaping her decisions. Friends noticed the change before she did. She canceled plans more often. She seemed distracted when she did show up. When asked if everything was okay, she smiled and said yes. It felt easier than explaining, easier than admitting she was afraid. Inside the home, the tension became familiar. Arguments followed predictable patterns: a small comment, a misunderstanding, a raised voice, then shouting, then silence, then apologies. The cycle repeated. She thought about leaving, but fear complicated everything. Fear of what he might do, fear of starting over, fear of not being believed. So she stayed. The night everything changed did not feel special. It felt ordinary. The home was quiet. The outside world continued as usual. A disagreement began over something minor, something that wouldn't have mattered on another day. But emotions were already close to the surface. Voices rose. Words became sharper. He moved closer as he spoke. She stepped back. The space between them felt smaller. She tried to end the argument. She tried to leave the room. He reached out and grabbed her arm. Not violently, not long enough to cause serious injury, just enough to stop her. She pulled away and told him to let go. The struggle lasted only seconds, but it changed everything. He released her. They stood there, breathing heavily. She believed it was over. She was wrong. He turned and walked out of the room. She stayed where she was. Her heart raced. She told herself to calm down. Moments passed. Then he returned. This time, he was holding a gun. The sight froze her. Her thoughts slowed. Her body went still. She raised her hands slightly. She tried to speak. She tried to calm him. Her voice barely came out. A single shot was fired. She fell to the floor. The room went silent. Time seemed to stop. He stood there, staring. Shock replaced anger. Then panic took over. He ran. Emergency calls followed. What had been a private argument became a public emergency. Sirens broke the quiet. She was rushed to the hospital. Doctors worked urgently. She had lost a dangerous amount of blood. Surgery followed. Hours passed. She survived. When she woke, confusion came first. Then memory. The argument. The struggle. The gun. Reality settled slowly. The person she trusted most had nearly ended her life. Authorities located him soon after. He claimed it was an accident. He said he never meant for it to happen. Investigators examined the evidence. They looked at the sequence of events. The argument, the physical contact, the decision to retrieve the weapon. The evidence told a clear story. The case went to trial. In the courtroom, she faced him again. Her body was still healing. Her voice trembled, but she spoke clearly. She described the control, the fear, the slow escalation. She described the moment she thought she would not survive. The courtroom listened. The verdict was delivered. Guilty. He was sentenced to years in prison. Survival did not end the pain. Healing took time. There were surgeries, therapy, sleepless nights. Trust did not return easily. Slowly, she rebuilt her life. Carefully, deliberately. She learned what safety felt like again. Her story became a warning. Not a story about monsters, but about how danger can grow quietly. Love should not create fear. Control is not protection. Silence can be dangerous. Violence does not always come from strangers. Sometimes it grows slowly inside a home. If this story felt familiar or unsettling, help exists. Reach out to trusted people or local support services. If this story impacted you, consider liking the video, subscribing, and sharing. Stories like this are not told for shock. They are told to prevent the next one.